Hi there. Welcome to Sunday Live for February. Oh my goodness, what is it? 16th? Yes. And sorry, I'm visiting relatives in the States. So things are a little bit off. I know this was supposed to happen at 4 p.m. El Salvador time, but where I was at 4 p.m. They didn't have internet. So about 5 hours late. But here I am because what I want to share with you guys is so important. Um, and it all comes down to, if you saw the thumbnail, it's about USAID and about a man with a blue beard. And I'm going to share it because this is so relevant to right now and what's going on in the world. And it's not exactly my typical content, which is about showing what expat life is like in El Salvador and helping foreigners come to El Salvador and integrate into society. But this actually is really important for that, because when you come to a new country and you're the visitor and you're the noob, you could say, you've got to make sure that you're all in. And if you're all in, you're not just in there for you. You're in there for your community and for other people in the country. And this is a great example of a foreigner that did just that, and of ways that we can help him to help El Salvador rise and be an even better place and save many of the most vulnerable and weakest Salvadorans. So here we go. First of all, right now in the news, everybody's talking about USAID and how they're turning up all these things about, oh, well, they're spending this many millions of dollars to send things to this place way over there. They're spending this many millions of dollars to send things over there. It's like, what? And a lot of, especially gringos or United Statesians, as Latinos sometimes get offended when we say Americans. But hello, we're saying, what the heck? Why are we sending all this stuff over there when we're not even taking care of ourselves? We're not even taking care of the people that have these same problems here in our own country. Why are we trying to take care of people that have these problems in other countries? Because it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, and that gets kind of sticky, because when it comes down to it, with the role of government, it's like, who do you help? It's like, technically the government works for the people. And so if there's a big, like, natural disaster, like forest fires in California, or say Hurricane Katrina, or a big storm that just wipes out a town, the people will sometimes look to the government and say, hey, help us out. Look, this big thing happened, and we're left with nothing. Please help us out. But the problem with giving aid, as opposed to a government just establishing infrastructure and, keeping the laws, enforcing the laws, is that where's that line between who gets aid and who doesn't? So if, like, for example, the forest fires, if all the forest fires people get a certain stipend for what happened to them and losing their home, well, if a month from now lightning strikes somebody's house and their home catches on fire and burns to the ground, and they go to the government and said, hey, I want some money because, my house burned to the ground. You gave these people all this money because their house burned to the ground from a natural occurrence. Give me some too. And they may be like, well, wait, that was a special thing because, it wiped out a whole lot of people's houses, and yours is just an isolated event. So, you don't get any money, but they do. And so then you see how it kind of gets complicated when you're talking about giving financial aid to people. And even more so when you're talking about doing it to people that don't even live in your society. And so a lot of people are up in arms about that. And it's just like, wait, so why are we giving our taxpayer money to people super far away from us, and how is that actually going to affect us? And at the same time, we can't be completely ignorant and staunch and be like, oh, well, tough, deal with it, because we are we are all connected. This world is a connected world. And honestly, I truly believe we are our brother's keeper. If you sit there and pull up, well, let them eat cake to the poor, that's going to come back to bite you in the butt, um, because you are connected. I mean, you are connected to your neighbor, you are connected to the people down the street. And if the society does not foster a connectivity, then that's when you get civil wars. That's when you get great big coups. That's when times aren't pretty. Um, so, for example, and that's why I put this in here, uh, there are, when you're giving aid and when you're helping others, especially in another country, I'm a big proponent, and I take all my clients that come to El Salvador through my relocation tours or through my hosting. I take them through the same kind of process of, look, you're the guest. And in my personal opinion, the best thing to do when you are the guest is not to show up and say, "Oh my goodness, this is terrible. Why are you guys doing this? Don't you know this is bad and this is the best way?" No, no, no. You're not coming here to change this country into the country that you just came from, because if that was the case, then you should have stayed. The point is to come and say, "Thank you for letting me in. This is me. How can I help?" And then asking, "What do you want?" Because I think this is kind of the tricky thing, because when a whole bunch of US taxpayers sit there and say, like, okay, well, they gave a couple $1,000,000 to a transgender clinic in Guatemala, and they say, "What? Wait, why are we pushing our ideas, our beliefs, our ways of thinking into the people of another country?" That definitely seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest. And I'll tell you one thing, Latinos really, really hate it. Rightfully so. They call it American imperialism, of America coming down trying to push their ideals, push their agendas on Latinos in their country. And hello, it makes sense too. So that's why I'm bringing you this video about the guy with the blue beard, because um, you gotta see what they want, what they need. If you truly want to help them with what they need help with instead of what you think they need help with. Um, so this guy with the blue beard, okay, his name is Kurt, and he came down. Oh, hi there, frijolero. This guy, his name is Kurt, and he came down to El Salvador over 12 years ago, and he has made a massive impact. In fact, I don't know any other gringos, and you can put it in the comments if you know of any other gringos that have had personally more impact in El Salvador and on Salvadorans than this man. Because when he came down 12 years ago, he saw youth. He saw kids that were orphans. He saw kids that just didn't have anybody to love them. And he's like, "I've got to do something about this." He kind of felt God calling him to saying, like, "You know what? This is your job. This is your opportunity if you take it." And he has helped over 400 orphans, abandoned children, and kids just breaking out, avoid violence, avoid gangs, avoid delinquencia. I guess it's like a life of crime, through his efforts. Because what he did is, so you know, in El Salvador, the foster system. Well, first of all, I need to say it's our job right now. We really need to help this guy stay out of jail because he's totally innocent. And if we don't, the work that he has been doing will go on to us. And I'm pretty sure we don't want that to happen, because we got enough on our plate. And he's really good at what he does. So we've got to support that. In El Salvador, the foster care system, there is no foster care system. So what happens if a kid gets abandoned or if a kid is being abused and is proven that is the case? What happens is the child is taken and put into either a private orphanage or a public orphanage. You can go to bed, honey. It's okay. It's okay. I'll be there in just a minute. Okay? Oh, go look in the dryer. You can do it. I believe in you. Ask for help. You got this. So, sorry. So, anyways, what happens is so there's a private orphanage and there's public orphanage. Well, there's a few private orphanages. And the public orphanage is called San Vicente. It's just like a whole bunch of bunk beds, and it's more like a warehouse than like a home. And the kids are in there, they go to public school, but then once they turn 18, whether it's private or public, they're kind of kicked out because they're 18. They're technically a legal adult, but they don't have anywhere to go. And so in the past, they usually used to hook up with gangs and just go anywhere they could go to try and make ends meet because they didn't have any family. Or if they went home, they went back home to abusive situations. So what Kurt did is he came up with a halfway house. And instead of just giving them a handout, he truly gave them a hand up. And one, he started State's Diner. And I've done lots of videos with State's Diner. If you look down in the playlist, and State's Diner is like it's a U.S. food restaurant in El Salvador. So if you're really missing your chicken and waffles, you go to State Diners. If you're really missing your meatloaf, you go to State's Diner. They have U.S. food in State's Diner. But what he did is he started it not because he wanted to have a U.S. restaurant. He started it because all the employees at State's Diner are these kids. So part of their deal is if they come into State's Diner, or they come into his halfway house. It's called, his foundation is called Sus Hijos, meaning God's children, and that we all need to take care of God's children. And so they come into the halfway house, they get a bed, they get meals, they get a job working at either State's Diner, or they actually have a bakery now, and they have another kiosk at the Bicentennial Park that also serves food. And they'll work at one of those 3 locations. They'll learn money handling skills. They'll learn some English. They'll learn how to do service, how to wait on people. They learn a bit about business, how to cook. And also, while they're there, if they're not working, they're going to school. So, yes, Kurt helps them get either technical degrees or get university degrees, whatever it is that they're passionate about, so they can get the skills, they can get the work experience. While and not just get thrown out there, so they can, once they're done with their education, they have the abilities and the capabilities to move forward and create a productive life. And a lot of these kids are kids that have never been loved before. They've never had a home. They've never had anyone to hug them and say, "You're worth it. Your life can be amazing." And I mean, for the rest of us, I don't know about you, but when I hear that, I think of how privileged I was to have the family that I grew up in, that I actually heard that a lot, because we need that as human beings. We need that validation, or else sometimes we're just like, maybe I'm just crazy. And we get too many voices inside of our heads. We need to know what's true. I mean, when was the last time you were sitting there kind of doubting your own reality and saying like, well, I feel this way, but everything outside me is saying something different? And that's what a lot of these kids come in. They come in without any hope. They come in without any direction. And Kurt gives them some stability, and he gives them some empowerment. And this started happening until it got to the point where then, okay, they're done with their education. Now what? Well, he started mission trips. He started taking mission trips. So he gets mission groups from usually up north, Canada, US, Europe. They'll come down and they will put together these just little frames, like these 4-frame little houses for these kids to go to once they finish their education. Once they're kind of through the halfway house and it's time for them to embark off in life, well, then again, it's almost like getting kicked out in the street again, right? But now they got skills. Well, they still need shelter. So what a lot of these kids do, they end up going back to kind of the pueblo that they came from, and usually there's a distant tia or tio or a pastor or a pastor in the town that will give them a little bit of land to put their little house on. And so in Kurt's mission trips, the missionaries come in and they build super simple little frame house, typically four walls and a door for them to have shelter while they start and embark off on this new life. And through those mission trips, he gets a lot of his funding and things like that. But this is, but on February 3rd, Kurt put this out. And that's why I said, okay, I have to do a video about this. It's just too important. Okay, this is what he says. This is straight from his Facebook post. God is still God, even on the hardest days. I couldn't sleep last night, my heart heavy with worry. Monday came, as it always does, and with it the weight of everything that we're facing. Overdue bills, looming deadlines, and challenges that feel bigger than me. But here's the truth. None of this is bigger than God. We've done all we can. We've let go of staff. We've sold all of what we could sell. We've tightened at every corner, but we're still here. We're still standing, and we're still believing. Right now, this is what's in front of us. $5,757,000 for a power bill that needs to be paid. That's 2 months late. $8,798 for payroll. $9,742 in back rent for all three locations. $16,750 for a personal loan that is due. $18,637 for providers in the culinary school program. So the total need is $59,684. Yes, it's a big number, but I serve a God who moves mountains. I don't know how he's going to show up, but I know he will. He's done it before, and he'll do it again. So today, I'm asking for your prayers because we know prayer moves the heart of God. Your encouragement because words of hope lift heavy spirits. And your support, if you're able. Every gift helps, no matter the size. Even in this, we are still visiting the orphans, building, teaching, training, loving, serving, encouraging. God is writing this story. I may not see the ending yet, but I trust the author. He's got me. He's got us. If you feel led to give, to pray, or to share this, thank you. You're part of this miracle in the making. You can go to sushijos.org. And he also had a video in there saying that he had back taxes to pay. And the government had just informed him that if he did not pay those back taxes, there would be criminal charges brought against him and that he could go to jail personally. And that's partially because in El Salvador, nonprofits or even Sus Hijos, which is a restaurant, which is seen as a for-profit business, even though all the profit goes right back to the foundation and to providing for more kids, all of that, they still have to pay taxes. And nonprofits have to pay taxes. And I'm not saying, oh, please don't put it in comments. Oh, this is so wrong. No, taxes are just an inevitable part of life. And it's one of the ways that they try and prevent corruption through nonprofits, which is, kind of typical. So, but what it comes down to is you and me taking, if you don't like where USAID is putting your taxes and the things that it's supporting, or you don't think that that's really maybe necessarily our business to do in a country, here is something irrefutable that El Salvador needs, that El Salvador's orphans and kids and abandoned kids need, where you can put your taxes and support and help this amazing foundation. And I know, because I've been to Hijos. He does like a devotional every Sunday night. He's even invited me out, and I've done a devotional at Hijos before. And these kids, they're amazing, but they need light and they need hope. And I want to challenge you guys as my followers. I've got like 10.5 thousand of you guys, okay, to commit to just doing like 20 bucks a month. And again, you're going to pay these taxes anyway. So why not put it towards something that you truly believe in, that you truly know is actually going to help this country, is actually going to help these kids? Because there's no debate that, hello, education is a good thing. And they're going to Salvadoran schools. They're going to Salvadoran educational places, and they're supporting Salvadoran businesses. So there's no underhanded agenda of something that Kurt is pushing per se. But this work has to be done. And not all of us can sit there and just, okay, I'm just going to give up my life and give up my kids and my family. I'm going to, go go and just serve and dedicate all my life to serving others. That's wonderful. And there's certain people that are really good at doing it, like Kurt, like Bob. But the rest of us, we empower their hands. It's like we are sitting there right beside them when we give and we help them do this. It's not like he's more, righteous, holy, better than you who has to sit at a desk or do a job or support your family or whatever. When we are contributing and supporting him, we're right there with him. It's not like you're less or worse. We are there right there with him, helping change these kids' lives, helping give hope, taking care of the least of these and the most vulnerable. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And on my relocation tour, so living like a local, I'm going to put 10% of our profits that we make from all of our relocation tours are going to be dedicated to Hijos, not just this month, but for the whole rest of the year. Because even though we could pay these taxes and keep Kurt from defaulting and from going or having charges brought against him or ending up in jail, hello, next month is going to come, and the next month after. They're going to need our support each month. And we have to pay taxes each month. So why not know and direct the abundance and the privilege that you have been given and that you have in your life through your family to those that don't have that family, to those that truly need. And without our donations, without Kurt, without sus hijos, have a much, much more difficult life. And, it's like they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Well, El Salvador is going through a whole lot of pounds of cure from the past couple of years and all the crime. But this little ounce of prevention and giving to sus hijos is so much better than the pound of cure that has to come after with jails and more police force and everything else. So will you please look down in the description below, feel in your heart and ask whether you believe in God or not. We're all connected. And ask in your own heart, what can I give? What can I do? How important is to me? What's my responsibility according to my privilege that I've had in my life to help make this world a better place, to take care of those that didn't have it as good as I've had. I am Jenny Addy, shining my light so you can shine yours, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.